Hi, this is Randy Wimmer, and welcome back to Government Contracting Academy's GovCon Business 101 course. Today's topic is titled, Why Government Contracting? Let's get started. Do you have an interest in preventing cyber attacks, fixing cars, managing projects, maintaining IT systems, repairing tanks, catering events, budgeting and accounting, cleaning bathrooms, installing navigational systems, landscaping, programming, laying brick, typing, providing engineering services, or nearly any other service known to mankind? If so, then you have the potential to achieve your financial dreams by selling your services to the federal government. You don't even need experience in these areas because contracts are awarded to the highest scored proposal, not the best company. With annual budgets exceeding $5 trillion, whatever you imagine doing, there's a 99% chance that the federal government is buying it in sufficient quantities to make you a very, very wealthy person. Let's put a little scale to that ridiculously large budget number. Assuming only $500 billion is actively competed for contract award, let me illustrate just how many digits to the right of the decimal are significant. Of course, I mean significant to you. Want to become a millionaire? Then just win a contract that is worth 0.0001% of the awarded federal budget in any given year. That's a $5 million contract, and maintain a 20% profit margin. We are barely breaking into the thousandths of a percent for any given year. This is commonly referred to as decimal dust in the federal government market. Now, put yourself in the shoes of the acquisition professionals within the federal government who are responsible for awarding hundreds of billions of dollars in contracts each year. Believe me, they want to award you contracts. They are mandated by law to spend the federal budget, so awarding decimal dust contracts to the likes of you and me does not even warrant an afterthought. They have bigger dollars to spend. Now ask yourself this question. How many markets have a guaranteed and known demand? It's not like a restaurant owner knows exactly how many burgers, burritos, or bagels people are required to buy and eat. I received no court order requiring my family to eat 6.2 burritos this Friday at my local Mexican restaurant. Yet, there is a comparable law in the federal government contracting market. I know exactly how much and for what the government will be spending their money. I also know when each government organization will be spending it. Here's another gem of the federal government contracting industry. Hidden within this market is the holy grail of wealth accumulation, passive income. After a substantial effort to win and transition a contract, you are rewarded with an extended revenue stream requiring minimal oversight. Transitioning a contract isn't nearly as hard as you might believe as well. Here's why. Most bid opportunities are simply a continuation of ongoing contracts that are being recompeted at the end of the contract period. During the previous contract period, the government and incumbent contract holder have weeded out bad employees. The folks that remain are almost always good. And guess what happens when you win the contract from their soon-to-be former employer who loses it? These employees come running to you to keep their jobs. So you simply hire the losing company's employees. Work performance during contract transition on your new complex win is no longer an issue. And now you're skimming tons of profit from the work that your new employees are doing for your new government customer. Even better, the program manager is typically funded by the contract to be the on-site manager for the entire contract, working hand in glove with government leadership. Smart corporate executives in this industry fully empower their program managers to meet both contractual and financial goals of their awarded contracts. The corporate office usually only gets involved when there are opportunities or issues. Otherwise, the program manager runs the show, ensuring that the revenue keeps rolling in. Most government contracts are 3 to 5 years in length. However, that's not the full story. Once you've won a contract, bidding on its contract renewal or recompete is tremendously easier since you have 100% knowledge of your customers' hot buttons. This simple fact is why incumbent contractors have a 70% follow-on award rate. A 5-year contract really has an expected value duration of 8.5 years, requiring a significantly reduced effort to win the recompete. That's nearly a decade of income for writing a winning proposal. It's even longer if the contract is recompeted a second, third, or fourth time. In addition to largely passive income streams, business owners are creating equity in their businesses. Every time your company wins a contract, gains a new customer, achieves a new credential, or simply stays alive for another year, it accumulates value. Investors and other companies in the federal government contracting industry are constantly seeking new investments and ways to make current investments more profitable. This frequently entails mergers and acquisitions. In other words, you may have an opportunity to have a very significant liquidity event by selling your business. Another one of my favorite aspects of the federal government contracting industry is that it allows you to play pin the tail on the donkey. The federal government procurement professionals don't get to buy whatever they wish. When Congress approves the budget, they mandate how and even when, by fiscal year, the budget will be spent. This budget is published for all to see. There is zero ambiguity regarding what the federal government will be buying. Even better, before the government buys these products and services, they release requests for proposals that fully and precisely define what they're going to buy. Your proposal must simply come closest to the target that they have defined. It's like playing pin the tail on the donkey, where you pin your tail or your proposal solution closest to the donkey's rear end, the request for proposal requirements. Since there are literally tens of thousands of requests for proposals in various stages of release at any given time, you simply pick the closest donkey to you and your corporate goals. Why is playing pin the tail on the donkey so great? Here's why. In other industries and markets, startup founders must guess at what customers are willing to buy. And customers are rarely reliable sources of information. Don't believe me? Just consider the following scenario. According to a recent study, over 2/3 of Americans are overweight. As an entrepreneur, you may see the obvious need for healthy fast food options. Moreover, you may receive an overwhelming response indicating the desire for healthy fast food options on various surveys that you commission. Being a bright entrepreneur, you fill this market void by launching your Too Few tofu restaurant chain. As you have your grand opening, you start to mentally count the millions of dollars that's going to be spent by overweight Americans seeking healthier fast food options. Then your heart breaks little by little as you see overweight Americans walk past your healthy tofu and salad restaurants to buy burgers and fries during their lunch break. It takes you a while to truly believe that your target market is not willing to buy and eat healthy lunch foods. Finally, you relaunch your restaurant chain as Big Boy Burritos, the biggest burritos in town, to avoid bankruptcy. Customers and markets are fickle, and they frequently lie. In many markets, entrepreneurship is a guessing game, and most entrepreneurs guess wrong. There is zero guessing when you play pin the tail on the donkey. You know what the donkey needs and where the donkey needs it. You also know when the game is going to be played. And this donkey has very, very deep pockets and is very generous when it comes to its tail. Every few years, the economy changes direction, and I start getting this question. Is it still a good time to enter federal government contracting? To avoid turning my answer into a course in macroeconomics, I'm going to answer if it's a good time to enter federal government contracting market with 3 questions of my own. I know, never answer a question with a question. However, I want to prove to you that you already know just how stable the federal government contracting market is. Do you believe that taxes are ever going to significantly decrease? Do you believe the world is ever going to be so much safer that a dramatic decline in defense spending will ever occur? Do you believe that a single member of Congress will ever be elected by campaigning to eliminate pork barrel spending for their voters? I believe history and our ever-increasing federal government spending authoritatively answers all 3 of these questions. Even elected officials who claim success in quote-unquote reducing the size of government have no negative impact upon contractor. Here's why. This is a dirty secret that everybody in the contracting industry knows. Reducing the number of government employees nearly always means simply converting those jobs to contractor positions. Although the contracting industry may be slightly impacted by the overall economy, it is better protected than most industries. If the economy is doing well, then more tax revenue is generated, and that allows Congress to increase government spending, which benefits contractors. If the economy is doing poorly, then Congress usually injects the waning economy with various stimulus packages, such as infrastructure investments. And who do you think benefits the most from these stimulus packages? Contractors do. Of course, budgets do shift within the federal government due to changing priorities. However, it has been my experience that it's primarily the larger companies that take a hit when a specific agency's budget shrinks. Tightening budgets typically favor more contracts going to smaller business because of their lower costs. In many cases, smaller companies can provide the same services as larger ones for much less money. Simply stated, if the federal government contracting market crashes, you'll be more concerned about finding a cave to survive the apocalypse than managing cash flow. Let's take a closer look at these charts. The red curve is government spending over time. Wow, that's all I can say as a taxpayer. I'm also saying wow as a government contracting entrepreneur. Why? Because a big chunk of that spending is on contracts being awarded to contractors. Just to avoid the argument that government spending has increased due to population growth, the embedded graph is federal spending per capita, adjusted to 2019 dollars. Without question, the federal government is the world's most resilient customer. These ever-increasing spending trends has persevered the Vietnam War, Gulf Wars 1 and 2, multiple stock market corrections, 9/11, the near collapse of the housing industry, and a pandemic. This aspect of the federal government contracting industry allowed me to pursue entrepreneurship. Living paycheck to paycheck with a growing family, the government contracting industry's very low cost of market entry enabled me to launch a startup while still providing for my family. In layman's terms, the cost of market entry simply means how much money you must spend to make a run at starting a successful business in a specific market. Now, some markets have low costs of market entry. For example, my teenage son can spend $500 for a lawnmower, trimmer, and blower to enter the lawn mowing industry in our neighborhood. His $500 investment enables him to compete for $20 to $40 mowing jobs. This same $500 financial investment in the federal government contracting market can have you competing for millions of dollars in government contracts. How can this be? In almost all federal government contracting situations, minimal financial commitment is required until after you're awarded the contract. This means that you don't have to hire your contractor employees until after you win and are guaranteed revenue to pay them. Let me further illustrate this tremendous advantage using a burger restaurant business example. To open a restaurant, you will first need to either buy or lease building space. Then you must completely refinish and outfit the space as a restaurant. This includes industrial cooking, grilling, and cleaning appliances, as well as tables, chairs, and other furnishings. Of course, decor and branding are also important and very expensive. Now it's time to buy all the necessary supplies and services, such as insurance, security, credit card processing, accounting, etc. Finally, we get to the burgers and other menu items that must be purchased. But we're still not done spending money. Before we open, we must also hire and train a complete staff of cooks, servers, managers, busboys, etc. Think of the upfront costs that you must invest before you sell your first burger for $3. However, this scenario is even worse than I've illustrated. Most first-time entrepreneurs jump on the franchise bandwagon, believing that buying a license for a known brand and a proven playbook are all they need for guaranteed riches. So let's assume that New Guy's Burgers is a franchise. According to Entrepreneur Magazine's Best Franchises list, the average initial investment for a top 10 restaurant franchise is about $1.5 million. Let the sticker shock sink in before you consider this fact. According to a report on food franchising by Franchise Business Review, over half of food franchises earn less than $50,000 per year in profit. Only a measly 7% make more than $250,000 per year. The average annual profit hovers a little over $80,000. Now that you know the numbers, let's be honest. Will an average annual profit of a little more than $80,000 make you financially independent? How many decades would you need to successfully operate a franchise to achieve your financial magic number? Is this expected return worth writing a check that large and working as a fast food manager flipping burgers? Now let's consider the upfront cost of starting a federal government contracting company. I will use my former services company as an example. I paid $100 in licensing fees to register as a limited liability with the Commonwealth of Virginia. I bought a $50 website template and populated it with my corporate information and paid $15 per month in web hosting services. Web hosting came with a free email account. I bought $50 worth of business cards and upgraded my personal printer to something with a little higher print quality. I paid around $250 for it. That was my entire upfront cost. After these initial investments, my cost of bid on my first prime contract award that was worth $15 million was $20 in binders and paper. My real cost to submit this proposal was many late nights of work. This is what I didn't have to buy or do. I didn't have to buy or lease an office or furniture. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table and used my existing laptop. I didn't have to hire staff. Most importantly, I didn't have to quit my real job. So I had the same amount of income that I always had. I wrote proposals after my kids went to bed. I did not have to make any significant investments in recruiting and hiring billable personnel till after I won a contract and had guaranteed income. My upfront cost to start a federal government contracting company that ultimately led to an 8-figure acquisition was almost completely funded by cutting back on my Starbucks habit. I did not have to invest my family savings or mortgage our home. I did not have to pay ludicrously expensive franchise fees. I did not have to apply and be approved for large business loans. I did not have to convince doubting investors that my business plan would lead to a hefty return on investment for their clients. And I did not have to dilute my ownership share for startup funding. It does not always take money to make money. In my personal case, it just took a little initiative and a lot of grit and many late nights. I just reviewed some of the many reasons why I love the federal government contracting industry. And you know what? I nearly forgot to tell you that 95% of U.S. companies choose not to pursue business with the government. You heard me correctly. Only 5% of U.S. companies pursue government contracts of any kind. The obvious question is, Randy, if this is such a great market, then why are so few companies pursuing government contracts? This is a completely legitimate question that I will invest an entire topic to address. However, I'll steal a bit of my thunder now by simply stating that many corporate executives aren't willing to learn how to do business with the federal government. Let's be honest, the federal government is one of the most bureaucratic organizations in the world. It's not good enough to simply have a scratch for their itch to do business. And learning how to do business with the federal government is non-trivial. Not because it's that hard, it's because no higher education or training institution exists to teach executives how to do it. That's why I launched Government Contracting Academy. However, once you learn how to do business with the federal government, you will have effectively eliminated 95% of your natural competition. Now, I've just completed this topic and I haven't even mentioned the absolute best reason to pursue the federal government contracting industry, and that is the Small Business Set-Aside Program. We'll discuss this small business game changer in the next topic. See you there.